Yo, what's going on, everybody? Xanthus Vice here, and we are finally back with some more Witch on the Holy Night. Sorry about that. I hope you guys have a great day. Yo, what's up, EF? How's it going? Got my E2 S1 Reen and got a DHPT at E1. Nice! Glad to hear that. Which reminds me, at some point I'm gonna have to do the Honkai Star Rail stuff, but I mean, to be fair, I haven't even gone through the PGR stuff, so trying to figure out what exactly I'm going to do. So, yeah. Anyway, it's been a while. Everything is insanely easy for me. Nice. But anyway, sorry it's been so long, guys. I just had work like the whole past couple days, I'll be honest. I was just... I needed to take some time to relax because it was going to be 4 days of work in a row before I get this, like, almost week-long break. And like I said, trying to do all my work as much as I can so then I'm ready for Otakon this weekend, so... That's why I haven't really streamed at all the past couple days, even though I did want to. Like, I was like, these are good times, but at the same time, it was like my mind and my body wasn't really that into it, so nothing you can really do, right? So, yeah. In regards to streams for these couple days before Friday, let's see. Because I'm doing this early because I'm already awake, so I might as well. Also, always make sure reading is faster. Gotcha. But yeah, I'm gonna do this today. Maybe I'll do a stream later tonight. If I do a stream tonight, I'll probably do Final Fantasy VII and it'll be like a grind sesh, because here's the thing I didn't realize at the point of the story I'm in Rebirth. But if you haven't gotten your Chocobo yet, you can't do anything. Because I tried to wander out because I didn't want to start main story. I couldn't leave the fucking place, okay? I didn't realize that. So yeah, couldn't really explore the map like I wanted to, so that'll probably be at least the former half of the stream that I'll do. So I'll probably do Final Fantasy today as well, but just later in the day. And then tomorrow I'll probably what's it called? Wait, what was I saying again? Oh, right, yeah. Tomorrow I will do Punishing Grey Raven to finally start the Helentine floating record. As for Honkai Star Rail, I don't work on Sunday or Monday, so I'll see if I can stream on one of those days for Star Rail. But as to whether I do the collab or the main story, that I don't know yet, because actually, this is great that you're here, UEF. I need to ask you. What's the setting for the story for the Fate Collab Part 2? Is it taking place in Plan Arcadia, or is it going back to Penacony? I'm just curious because depending on how things are, I might have to do the main story in Star Rail first before that, just so I don't really spoil myself, even though there probably won't really be any spoilers, even though I don't know any of the context of this Part 2. But I just want to get your opinion on it before I do it. You poor summer child. You should try Final Fantasy IV 3D. Well, I don't have emulators. The setting for it is Plan Arcadia. Also, there's an explanation for why Reen can use Ishtar's bow. Oh, okay. Because I was gonna wonder, it's like, it's a cool aesthetic, but they are gonna have to explain that. Okay, that's good to know. That's actually really good to know. Don't need an emulator, it's on C. Oh, really? I'll put that on the list then. Maybe someday I'll get to it. I can't promise it'll be anytime soon, but at the very least, I can put it on the list. So, FF4 3D. Okay. Make sure to do that. I can act as a guide for that game too, especially as the game goes on. Okay. Well, like I said, I'll do it someday. I can't promise immediately because, again, in almost 2 months' time, we're gonna have a Trails in the Sky second chapter remake, so that's gonna be the main focus that month. So I can't say for sure. Video in particular is the best caster in the game if you get the right abilities. Oh, okay. But yeah, like I said, depending on, then I might have to do main story for Star Rail first before I do the collab story. At least I think so. I don't know. Am I gonna need access to the next parts of the map or update or whatever to do it? Because I feel like they have like a skip option, kind of like where you can just focus on the event before you do the main story. But personally, I'd rather not have to like deal with all that kind of stuff. So, want to know something else I can add? I'm returning Kai 2. Emma was investigating spirit. Oh yeah, no, yeah, I remember talking about that. But yeah, anyway, where we last left off in Witch of the Holy Night. Sorry for all you actually catching up for this stream. We had finally gone through this chapter. It's been a couple days since damn it, what was his name again? Why am I forgetting this now? It's the hard to pronounce one. Well, whatever. I'll call him Suzuki, because again, that's his other name. But yeah, Suzuki was gone through a couple days at school. Said saw something weird, and during his job, it seems like he met the person who was up to possibly no good last night. Which I'm assuming was a battle between mages, but we don't really know too much of the context about it. But at the very least, we know that person's possibly dangerous, and we did at least get a bit more lore as to like why Aoko has like the nickname and why everyone fears her and all that stuff. It was pretty entertaining, and again, I had to say I really love these expressions that they're putting on the 2D character models. Like it's just so Nasuverse, you know. But it's like this time it works really well. So I'm inclined to say I really enjoy it right now. So like I said, we're gonna work on the hidden chapter, basically 1.5. The problem is I don't know if this Tea Time 3 is gonna be that 1.5 part, or if this is just moving forward to chapter 3. I'm not really sure, but I'm gonna go to the archives and go to the 1.5 thing, the hidden chapter, and see what exactly was going on, because it seems like Alice was up to stuff last night, or supposedly. I don't know, but it's getting interesting. So let us go ahead, go here, and then I will pull up the menu. How do I do? Oh, right. I go to archive. Yes. Right, and now we have this. 7 days of spinning. Yeah, because that's 4 parts here, so maybe we could at least do a 2-hour stream, then hit the gym, and then, like I said, probably do Final Fantasy VII Rebirth later tonight. Like I said, possibly next week I will at least try to do a bit of like Honkai Star Rail story, because again, I don't know if like I need to explore the map before, or new parts of the map before we get to what's it called? The collab, but I might as well just do it just to also get it out the way. And also see what's going on, because it seems like Himiko is playing a much bigger role now, finally, after how many planets we've been to now? So, yeah. Let's go ahead and start with 7 Days of Spinning, Volume 1. Okay, yeah, so this is a hidden chapter. Yeah, because this isn't starting from the same place as before. Okay, good. But still, it is interesting that it's like, it's gonna hint at things here, but it's like, it doesn't tell you to go to it. I guess that's part of the exploration part of a visual novel, right? You go check the other routes to see what it's going on, then you'll see there's like interlying context and information that connects, where it's like, it reveals more of it, but you yourself have to investigate the story, because that's the point, right? You always have to read like in between the lines in a regular book to really understand what's happening in the main plot. So, morning in the city moved incredibly fast. It made one wonder if it was even the morning at all. Were people so bright-eyed and bushy-tailed? The familiar roar that awoke him reminded him of a rock slide. The identity of the monster's sound was the engine of a motorcycle, as the Yoshida's neighbor was leaving for work. It was hard to determine when night ended and morning began here. The town's urbanization was synonymous to insomnia.
信じられない。まだ日も昇ってないのに。吉田さんはどこに行くのか。
He sluggishly lifted himself off the floor, found himself starting to survey his surroundings out of habit before deciding better of it, made his way to the washroom. There he poured himself a cup of water and slowly gulped it down. Having been relegated to well water until recently, he found the convenience pleasing. Pleased was definitely the word that best described how he felt. Civilization is about erasing inconveniences through optimization, the reduction of labor in our daily lives. Mr. Koga had taught him that while the essentials were easier than ever to get our hands on, life itself was growing more and more complex. So too was it his duty to adjust to his new reality. As a distant relative of Sojiro's father, Mr. Koga had taken Sojiro in. Sojiro, right. Again, bear with me for if I'm mispronouncing the name, even though the boy had been little more than a stranger in his life at that point. Mr. Koga had helped him get registered at school and find an apartment to lease. Though he had insisted that Sojiro handle his residence card and register his change of address by himself. The series of procedures proved exceedingly difficult for Sojiro, but knowing that this was a part of his new city life, he did his best to complete them diligently. While they may have a reputation for being a stickler for the rules, city offices aren't all that bad. It was the first thing Sojiro learned after beginning his new life in the city. 2 weeks had elapsed since he left the countryside. As uneasy as living alone made him feel, he felt that he could make it work. It wasn't as if people here spoke another language, and Mr. Koga was absolutely right about how practical the rules of the city were. Sojiro continued down the hard, but surprisingly walkable path. Before work, he jogged in the park to pass the time. Even exercises like this offered lessons for Sojiro to learn. Each passing person was a new face to look at. The old man who greeted him, the young worker with his eyes on the ground, and the girl on the bench surrounded by birds. They were all unfamiliar sights to Sojiro. Unaccustomed to the city, he labored to understand its rules. Whether they were complex, simple, or completely meaningless. Compared to mountain life, which only dealt with nature, city life left one with way too many options. One could argue that an environment was toxic for Sojiro. His life was a string of unsettling moments. But amongst it all, there were rules that he certainly admired. For one, that the city revolved around various forms of profit and loss. The fact that one only needed money to get the bare essentials to survive the city was a comforting thought to Sojiro. Oh yeah, he did say he was his coworker.
金なんてものはあくまで記号で、本当に大事なのは別にあんだからさ。所詮は流動する肩たたき券と変わんねっつが、別に1万円札食ってもうまくねえっつが。ともかく金で真心は買えねえじゃん。じゃねえよ、ざけんなよ。俺は悲しいよ。ついこの間まで4000ポッチの日当に鹿みたいに首かしげていた正直者がくだらねえ皿洗いをしながら、まあ世の中金だよねなんてボソッと言わないでくれっつの。いや、貨幣制度は素晴らしいと思う。正直物々交換の限界を感じた。それより木の実、ふざけてるとそれ落とすぞ。っておお、やべやべ、次割ったら今度こそ俺の頭が割られちまうからな。忠告サンキュー。それで相談事？何？もしかして金？そうなんだ。とりあえずお金は大事で、たくさんあるに越したことはないって痛感した。なんで、できればもうちょっと働きたい。
Seriously? Wait, is this when he's only starting to get a job, or is this when he already had multiple? Because I was gonna say, dude, you're already taking on multiple jobs. I think that's already more than enough it should be, especially for a high schooler.
マジ？マシーンみたいに皿洗いをこなしながら夢のないこと言わないでほしいな。世の中金じゃねえって言ったばかりじゃんか。やっぱラブじゃんか。ところで水冷たくないですかね。冬場の皿洗いって割り合わねえことこの上ねえよな。そりゃ冷たいけど、これぐらいは我慢しないと。山の水は冷たいっていうより痛かったし。氷水と同じにすんな、野生じめ。しっ かしあれだね。呆れた順能力。いや、忍耐力っつうの。レジ打ちすらできなかった新人がよ、たった4日でしみったれた飯屋の社畜になっちまうなんて、やっぱ世の中金ってことかね。資本主義ってすげえ。
うるせえぞバカバイト。文句あんならやめちまえ。うちにはごくつぶしにくれてやる小遣いはねえ。
Like blazing chopsticks with them like a stubble. This mess of a Chinese restaurant manager was a stubborn man who was willing to let minors work for him and didn't shy from violence, even if it was directed at the son of a lifelong friend. Sojiro felt that this was what Sparta must have been like.
ほら怒られた。任されたことはきちんとやらないと。
け、優等生。こっちは何かと反抗したい年頃だっつうの。まあいいや、話は変わるんだけどよ。しずき夜に出歩くタイプ？それかチャリンコで出張る趣味？いやまあどっちかでいいんだけど。
バイトの帰りはほとんど夜になるけど、そういう話じゃないんだよな。夜の散歩も遠出も趣味じゃないけど、それが？
いや何さ、しずき引っ越してきたばかりだって言うからよ。俺らが言うのもなんだけど、うちちょい治安が悪いっての？柄が悪いわけじゃねえんだけどな。年間10人ぐらい通り魔事件っての？そういうの起きてっから。
通り魔ってなんだ？
そっからかよ。なんだほら、カバン強盗でもないか。辻斬りってのが近いのか。住宅街とかまだ森が残ってる方によく出やがるんだよ。そういうおかしいのが。なんで、あんまり夜遅くは出歩くなよな。三崎岡の公園とか有名な怪奇スポットだから。
Ah, okay. So there was already stuff already going on by that point. Okay. Because, I mean, to be fair, I feel like there would definitely be much more reaction if it, like, just happened recently, right? But if it's happened a number of times and people can't really explain it, I guess it's more just like, just better to be forewarned of the situation than just hope you don't get caught up in it. Okay, I see. So that's kind of how this is being being taken.
通り魔の犯人は口裂け女だったって話知らねえか？
ごめん。まずその口裂け女ってのがわからない。
階段だよ。口が耳まで裂けてるってやつ。今じゃさすがに時代遅れだけどよ。なんだっけ？深夜の道にな、コート姿の女が待ち伏せていて、私、綺麗とか聞いてくるんだよ。で、綺麗って言っても、いまいちって言っても家まで追っかけられて殺されるの。女の少年はおっかねえっつうか、アメコミの怪人っぽいっつうか。
いや、それ本気で怖くないか？家まで上がってくるのか、その女の人。
窓から入ってくるらしいぜ。ガサガサとこうゴキブリみたい。ギャ
のクソガキが厨房でその4文字は禁止だってんだろ。殺すぞ。
Okay. I think I'm starting to see the picture. So when he saw whatever he saw that night, I'm guessing by assumption, just because he didn't really have the context of things, because who knows, maybe she is, maybe she isn't. She's part of one of the rumors that's like she asked a question, and then depending on how you answer, she'll kill you. And that's also why he always kept looking back, right? Because if she kept following him, then it'd be like, oh shit, that's the person from last night, or something like that. But the reason he was so relaxed is because, oh, okay, it was probably just my imagination, or I misunderstood something, or just sheer coincidence and nothing more. At least that's what I think, anyway. The back of Konomi's head exploded in pain with the impact of his boss's frying pan. Sojo was reminded just how dangerous this town could be.
殺す殺すってバカじゃねえの。普通そっちの方が禁止用語じゃねえの。ここレストランなんだしさ。いやあんまうまくねえけど。
木の実、頭大丈夫か？
え？ああ、心配無用。俺なんだか頑丈さには定評があるから、特に頭部について。ともかくそういうわけなんで夜の暗がりは気をつけるぞな。もししずき見るからにかもそうな顔してるし。
ありがとう。ところで年間10人というのは多い方なのか？
知んねえよ。少なくはないだろうけど多い方でもないんじゃねえか。ま、うちの通り魔事件が他に比べて厄介なのはまだ犯人が見つかってないってことだからね。
He laughed cheerfully. Konomi was probably trying to take the edge off his story, but the noble intention of his laugh was completely lost on Sojiro. His friendly warning was equally futile. Sojiro was simply impressed that Konomi was able to laugh it off. On the way home, nobody ahead or behind. Sojiro proceeded through the dimly lit street when suddenly he turned to face an improbable sound.
あいた。
Something stabbed him in the head, fell to the floor. A small bird that apparently flown into the telephone pole before landing on his head. The starling cleaned itself off and flew away. Following at the bird, his desperate escape thereafter, was unlike anything he had experienced in his life up to now. Most of the townsfolk would have seen the incident as unlucky, ominous, or even sinister. Sojiro just nodded and went about his business. You must understand. What might have been a first for him was surely an everyday occurrence for these city folk. Oh, okay. Oh, okay, yeah, so I guess I just keep going. Alright. Oh, okay, so this is just gonna lead up, because I'm guessing these are like days leading up to that incident. I guess.
たったいまー。ねえ、アリス帰ってる？教会から帰るとき、商店街でお土産もらっちゃった。伊勢屋のせんべい一緒に食べない？
Sorry about that. Her voice reverberated through the foyer, or dyeing the colors of the setting sun. It was after 5 in the afternoon when Alko, still in the school uniform, cheerfully returned home. She finished her student council duties and attended her monthly meeting with the church.
おかえりなさい。その様子なら何事もなく終わったみたいね、青子。
The voice was coming from the second floor. In contrast to Alko and her boundless energy, a considerably calmer girl descended from above.
難癖はつけられたけど滞りなく。うちの問題はうちの問題だから、今回も手は出さないって方向でまとまったわ。それでいいのよね、アリス。
ええ。猫の手なら借りたいけど、あの人たちの手は信用ならないし。いつも通り、後処理だけお願いしましょう。
賛成。後ろからバッサリやられかねないしね。だいたい、私もあんたも背中を気にして没頭できるからじゃないし。
私はできるけど。青子は単に、まだそれほどの余裕がないだけでしょ。
うん。
With the graceful sounds of her steps, Alice entered. As she did, Alko's eyes were directed toward the skylight above.
ガラス、曇ってるわね。
そのことで話があるわ。今日の課題が終わったらだけど。青子、体の調子は？ 疲れているなら休みを入れてもいいけど。
何よ気味悪いな。気遣いされることなんてないってば。いつも通りの一日だったし。そんな疲れた顔してる私。
As school activities went, today's were a breeze. At a glance, her school life might have seemed almost idyllic. Though the more she thought about it, some headache-inducing incidents may have stood out here and there. And with some sincere introspection, Alco might have recognized the signs of her own mental fatigue, but doing so would have further added to her stress.
ストップ。なんで帰ってきてまであんなののことで疲れなくちゃいけないんだ、私。今日の課題って初歩のウィッシュでしょ？問題ないわ。すぐ始めましょう。今日はなんか勢いでうまくいきそうな気もするし。どうしたのよ？アリスの部屋でやるんじゃないの？
それで伊勢屋のせんべいって今日の？
She looked at the freshly baked treats Alco was holding. In the end, their lesson took place after Alice had her cup of tea. For an apprentice like Alco, Alice Kuonji was the kind of roommate and teacher that was hard to come by. As she insisted that Alco rest to preserve her health, Alco had no choice but to comply. The lesson was over after 2 hours, so the two finished the dinner they had prepared and decided on a change of venue for where they would spend the last hours of the day. The sunroom was next to the drawing room in the east wing of the residence, and offered a view of the beautiful grounds. The Proud Kuonji's estate, luxurious sunroom, featured furnishings on par with those of splendid drawing room. Meanwhile,
来年の夏はジャングルね。この分だと。
the grounds outside had fallen into disrepair, neglected by the owner.
ねえアリス、庭掃除専用のプロイとかいないの？
探せばいるかもしれないけど、少し手間ね。
Playing along with her roommate's joke, Alice made to sit in their chair. Just as she caught sight of the box of chocolates on the table, her lovely eyes narrowed in a frown.
何よ、言っとくけど今日の失敗は半分アリスのせいよ。おせんべいで気が緩んだのが敗因っていうか、そりゃウィッシュのつもりがガンドになっちゃったのは我ながら攻撃的すぎると思うけど。
6個減ってるわ。
なんだ、そっちのことか。
Aqua's eyes stared intently at the box of chocolates. You could search the world and never find a fine selection of chocolates. The brand was sixpence songs, apparently.
で、鏡の話をするんだっけ？あれ、今洋館モードから岬モードになってるんでしょ？
ええ。ここの管理はおざなりになるけど、岬市だけに切り替えたわ。それが昨日から曇り出している。少しずつだけど、確実に包囲されてるわね。
包囲って数が増えたってこと？
捕捉していた1名はもちろん、他にもう2名ほど不審者を目撃済み。都市部に1、郊外の森に2ね。
はあ、 あんたの目撃談は当てになるからな。で、うるさいのはどっち？
森の方。捕捉中だけどこっちの目に気づいているみたい。なかなか誘いに乗ってこないわ。
そっか。じゃあ今夜仕掛ける？
To go after it tonight, one simple suggestion that would change the course of her life forever. There's no overstatement to say that this was the roll of the dice that would decide whether she had the moxie to survive the experience of jumping out of a plane with a torn parachute. Alka swallowed her hesitation and fear with a little tea. On the school's anniversary night, she declared that she made up her mind. From that time on, she would never waver. Alice welcomed her roommate's strength with the barest hint of regret. As someone who shared the same motivations as her, Alice was ultimately reassured by Alka's resolve. Well, perhaps more pleased than reassured. All in all, it had taken the better part of a year, but finally Alka had stepped out of Alice's shadow. The two partners now shared the same fate. Alka was not the partner Alice had asked for, but a partner nonetheless. Strangers, worlds apart. Even if eventually they would battle each other to the death using all they had inherited, it was only right they did it on equal terms. It was, at least for now, a cause for celebration over how far Alka had come.
せっかくだけど今夜は私一人で十分よ。そんな余裕があるのならあなたはもう少し暗示の練習をするべきね。公演はあなたの担当だからその時は働いてもらうけど。
Alka did not so much as look at or Alice didn't so much as look at Alka as she explained her reasons. Scale the enemy that she would face that night. Her plans for Alka. For in only 2 days from now, Alka Aozaki would be reborn.
はいはい、わかりました。お言葉通り暗示の練習でもやってるわ。一節目は確か軽く弱くうまく早くチクタクチクタク急げや急げよね。
そこは軽く弱くうまく早く急げや急げチクタクチクタクよ。
Ah, okay. I see. That's kind of her interpretation of it. But that's what actually... Right, because if I remember correctly, Reen had to do the same thing, right? She also kind of had to do an enchantment before actually having the magic apply to her. Like for her strengthening.
気をつけなさい。それだと逆に落ち着かなくなるわ。
そうだったそうだった。じゃ、一つ失礼。
She waited before leaving Alice alone in silence. Alice stiffened a moment before slamming the box of chocolate shut as if it could serve to scold Alka for snacking. Okay. Next part. Ooh. Whoa, what the hell?
午前0時を確認しました。前回更新より24時間経過。バックアップ開始。レコード送信。周囲の地形をスキャンします。大気成分窒素異常なし、酸素異常なし、アルゴン異常なし、二酸化炭素異常なし。第5仮説要素異常異常 異常あり。周囲の時空連続体に齟齬を確認。第一種危険物との遭遇と断定。視覚領域を主観から客観に変更。自立回路を予備電源に、計測回路を主電源に変更。カメラを赤外線計測から虚数線計測に変更。では、これより戦闘行為の記述を開始します。主よ、どうか我が身を守りたまえ。
Misaki City was a thickly wooded area. Urban development continued unabated, but Mother Nature still drew breath in its outskirts. Wise old trees had been turned to lumber. The leaves had begun to turn to mulch. Even though the birds who curiously tilted their heads had moved on, the Verger lived on, testament to its enduring strength. The Verger, my bad. Until the time came that the devouring light of civilization became powerful enough to encroach upon nature's mysterious domain. These woods were no exception. The outlying border between Misaki City and Misaki Hills had been left untouched. Though driven from their nests and dens here, wildlife continued to subsist, even today. No longer able to return to the days before man. It's just like any other forest situated next to a town.
Hey dido dido, the cat and the fiddle.
Winter had arrived in the woods. The chill cut like a razor, the icy air so thick it could reach one's bones. Its both cheeks stiffened and wisps of breath formed swirls in the air before disappearing. It was 1 degree above freezing. The cold snap penetrated every nook and cranny of the woods, from the ground to the trees to the wildlife. The forest allowed nobody entry during the day. During the winter, it willed the animals to slumber. The still evening air felt like the sagging breath of the lingering dead. The forest consumed the moonlight, obscuring the sight of even the closest of precipice, and hastening the untimely doom of any soul unfortunate enough to become lost within. The only noises to be heard were the whisperings of the wind and the murmurings of the stream. The mortal darkness stifled any sense of life. Not the breath of an animal, much less that of a person, was drawn in this place. However, a figure in black, not of this place, skulked within. It cast the tiniest, frailest of silhouettes, like a small boat lost in the sea of fog. Its trepidatious footsteps echoed through the woods. There, exiting the veil of trees, was the unmistakable likeness of a young girl.
To see such great under this away with the spoon.
来たぞ来たぞ。
いるぞいるぞ。
誰が誰が？
誰と誰が？
お腹は減った。
お腹は鳴ったさ。
どっちが食べる？
どっちも食べる。
君は左手。
お前は右手。
歓迎しないと。
感激しないと。何しろようやく楽しいお客。
ついでにお腹と脛骨も。
せっかくだからよく噛まないと。
A hallucination? An illusion? Or perhaps something real. Shadows frolicked in time to the girl's pace.
さあさあさあさあ、もっと奥へもっと奥へ。ところでダイスは細工済み？
お腹の重いローデット。
端っこかじったエッジワーク。
どうでもいいけど肝心要の6の目だけは出さないように。
The girl knitted her eyebrows. She heard voices and felt the presence of things that shouldn't be here. Scary enough to find this particular girl? As if. Her tightly pursed lips betrayed not a hint of fear. The girl walked of her own volition. If she truly felt fear, her legs would be frozen. Deeper from the trees, she was perfectly aware of the two humanoid figures stalking her through the still night air.
見たぞ見たぞ。
来るぞ来るぞ。
もう諦めろ。
もう帰れない。
あんなに教えてあげたのに。
よそに消えないお前が悪い。
The girl halted her steps. The ragged from the accompanying voices died in turn. The babbling brook suddenly sounded like a crackling fire. And then... across the shallow stream, something appeared that shouldn't exist in the city, much less these woods.
こんばんは。話のわかる人はいる？そう。ただの墓守。監視だけが仕事なのね。失敗したわ。これなら青子に任せればよかった。ああ、けど。
The one grinning man stood still. The other, shaking violently as if unable to contain himself any longer, turned toward the girl.
青子にはまだ荷が重いわね。そんな姿だけど、あなたたちは一人前の魔術師のようだし。
The two Glasgow men let out a yelp of caution and incoherent fear. It's at this moment that they finally bared their intent of motion.
さようなら、お客様。きっと一瞬だろうから、お別れだけ言っておくわ。
The two shuddered. They had no mouths, nor ears or brains to begin with. Creatures like these, words were redundant. All that existed was the present. These soulless creatures' fears and hopes were nothing more than an unimaginable future. What could this feeling of foreboding be that they felt? A spine-chilling miracle that ripped them to pieces not moments from now.
さあ、ごっこ遊びをしましょう。
The song sounded like a bell echoing through the white woods. The girl's voice vanquished the frost that gripped the trees. Then,
いやいや、ずいぶん待たされた。
さあ赤ずきんの登場だ。
curtains opened on Diddle Diddle, the banquet of the night. In confusion, one slip-mouthed man swooped toward the girl. In fear, the other fled into the woods behind him. The deformed humanoid darted forth, kicking up water as if to rush the girl. She already knew what this fiend was. The figure had scissors for hands and a demon's heart. It was a wretch who kidnapped children, mercilessly rending them to pieces.
トゥイードル。
お任せお任せ。
ようやく出番だアラ
よった。
Piglets bounded and rebounded like paddle balls. Stuffed animals over 3 feet in length jumped and weaved their way between the trees. Even with these strange creatures before him, the grinning man did not so much as blink. He raised his arms, but what emerged from his coat sleeves were not the human appendages you would expect. In their place, fiendish cleavers, but a 1.5 feet in length. His appendages, which tore so much of their prey to pieces, sliced cleanly through the flying pig's skulls. His limbs froze in place. Pigs' bodies were sliced perfectly in half. Then, sickened from head and tail, the pig's innards became his alligator jaws and clamped down upon the grinning man's arms. Fingertips to shoulders, they were swallowed whole. It was all it took to rob the man control over his entire body. Never shiver of fear. There were no mere pig familiars. Immediately, he realized that these were stapler monsters disguised as mere pigs.
捕まえたのはダムでした。捕まえたのは D だってば。ああ、でも残念。ご主人様は無口で無情で無関心。結局、どっちの手柄も同じこと。
London Bridge is broken down, broken down, broken down.
Not possible? Talking pigs are one thing. Even having one's arms chopped off was in the realm of occupational hazard. In an instant, the wood was enveloped in a dense wave of magical energy. Though vexing, it was still impressive. And these facts were particularly extraordinary. These rare familiars, their bizarre attack, sheer innate magical energy to overwhelm others? He had experience with all these things. His employer was skilled enough to achieve all of this as well. However,
どうするどうする。いつまで放置。手足一本、瞬きだって贅沢だ。お支払いは面倒でも、できればポンドでお願いします。
what were they? Not vessels, not living creatures, not beings powered by magic circuits. Even though only his arms had been bent, none of his body would move. It's nothing like being bound or weakened. It felt more like he had become words written in a book, fated to keep their page. His grinning figure deformities indicated he had overcome numerous curiosities and monstrosities. Illusions, enthrallment, compulsions, freezings, putrefacitions, and even petrifications. Power granted only the pinnacle of Mystic Eye. Yeah, because I was gonna say, isn't that supposed to be the Mystic Eye? Similar to like what Medusa had? From poisons to magecraft, he had weathered a great deal. But this was something different altogether. The penalty that bound him now was based on different principles from blood, flesh, oxygen, or heat. It was an unknown restraint that followed no rules he knew. Indeed, though it was terrifying to admit, it was as if he encountered something alien to everything in this world.
London Bridge is broken down, broken down, broken down. London Bridge is broken down, my fair lady.
Banks sank into his left and right shoulders. For the first time in this fight, he felt rage seep up inside him. The basis of all things had to be absolute. All mystics, all things bizarre, obeyed some set of laws. These pigs ignored this, along with his dignity.
さあ、3日で衰弱。6日で溺死。半年経てば惨めな。でもご無礼。面倒だから今殺そうか。
How? He had no voice, he let out an exasperated scream.
うげ。うげげ。なんて便利。自分の腕を外せる機構。おお、お前こそ三国一のものの不要。
Talking the pigs fell into the stream. exasperated scream was the sound of a figure tearing his arms from their sockets. Armless, he rushed the girl.
役立たず。後でお仕置きが必要ね。
He may have lost his mangled arms, but not the object of his malice. A mystic eye to pierce the heart of its victim. A magic circuit designed to stop the beating heart. What? It's beautiful in its simplicity. Point-blank range, it was the equivalent of unavoidable shotgun blast. Damn! Kind of reminds me of like when Jiren, like all he had to do was like open his eyes and he like let out basically a bunch of air blasts onto Goku. But what is that thing behind her? Is that a tree? Tragically, that eye was all he had. Oh, it is. What the hell? Is she making like a golem or something? He failed to realize that her song had changed. Oh my god. For the giant, the earth-shattering strike was akin to the act of shooing away an insect. Its green verdant veins pulsed. Oak bark covered its body, hardened sufficiently over centuries to repel even a chainsaw. On its forehead, inscribed in all manner of colors, was the word MF. Though, judging from its misspelling, the inscription was purely decorative. Oh my god, it is like a golem with the Thames troll. It also went by the moniker Falling Down. Oh, so wow, okay. Ah, so that's where this Falling Down comes from. Or alternatively, the Great Bridge. Oh, right, because is this like Thames like the River Thames? I see, the London Bridge fall. Wow, okay, shit. I didn't even realize. I'll be honest, I didn't even know about the River Thames until like I watched a Simon video and then they reference it. I'm like, oh. Admired in its different forms, it was the first of 4 miracles.
テムズ、もう一体のお願い。
Giant responded to the girl's words. The roots rent deep into the earth and raised its left arm to the heavens without moving a step. Elsewhere in the forest, the grinning figure who had chosen to flee the battle was running through the night forest at full speed. Gordon provided a detailed description of the enemy. Those are the orders assigned to him. He poured all of his energy into escaping this forest with which he had become so familiar. In case of emergency, the plan was for one to challenge the enemy, while the other made a tactical retreat in order to report to their master. He dashed through the forest. Though gripped by fear, he was confident in his ability to perform the mission he was designed for. Nothing could catch him in these woods. Even the wolves couldn't track him. His bird-like legs thumped as they kicked the ground. There was a creator's eccentric taste that dictated their form when optimizing them for running. The grinning man could reach a maximum speed of 45 miles per hour, well past the limit of any bipedal creature. After securing a distance of several miles, he turned around to confirm his safety. There's no sign of pursuit. His crescent-shaped mouth, nay, eye, slackened in relief. And then, after facing forward once more, he looked up to lock eyes with his doom.
London Bridge is broken down, broken down, broken down.
In the distance, he could hear the dark whines of Mother Goose. Countless vines extended from the ground. He fell into a monstrosity that conjured up images of an arched bridge, something resembling a giant arm.
London Bridge is broken down, my fair lady.
最終報告生還は困難解析は困難転送は困難状況を終了しますはあ主よどうか この身を守り。
Hmm.
済んだよね。お疲れ様。戻ってテムズ。
That's a pretty cool power. I think I'm understanding what her power is, but I want to see if there's anything else to it.
次はもっと高価な場所ならいいのだけど。
The girl turned on her heel. Invaders who had set up shop in the woods were eliminated. She had no interest in whether they'd been good or evil, nor how many victims they had claimed. The shackles of civic society held no sway over her. This is the way of a pure-blooded witch. The way of a mindster.
僕たちは？ねえ、僕たちは？この腕抜けないんだけど。噛んだままだと僕らも動けないっていうかさ。ひどい。飛べない豚に用はないと。次はお役に立ちます、きっと。生まれてこの方、失敗続きの僕らだけど。壊れるまでに一度くらいは褒められたいね。
The girl let out a sigh and stepped into the stream. She moved her gloves and dipped her slender fingers into the ice water.
6の目は出すなって言うけど、6の目しか出ないようになってるわよね、あなた。
There was no response to her melancholy tone. In place of the once boisterous pigs were two black dice, now sitting in the palm of her hand. As the girl was about to say something to the scattered remains around her, she realized something that made her put a hand to her mouth.
お別れは済ませていたわね。目ぐらいは聞いておくべきだったかしら。
Her slender pale fingers traced her lips as if reluctant to part from them. Sighing again, she calmly left the dark woods the same way she had entered. Yo. I have to say, that was a pretty cool sequence. I like how he actually, moved the still images to actually look like it was kind of like telling, like, a pop-up book story. I thought that was pretty cool. And yeah, a battle of mages would definitely look like that. I wonder if I could enhance that image. It looked pretty cool. But I kind of wonder, is it because when she's singing the song, you're stuck in her little fairy tale? Is that what her power is? Because I thought it was going to be like she has a book and she's pulling out fairy tales. But that doesn't seem to be what her power is. So I'm guessing whatever she's chanting at the time, it's what gives them form, or gives them the abilities as if like from the story, or like an interpretation of those stories. Like again, the nursery rhyme with the London Bridge, and then these two pigs. It kind of makes me feel like that's what it is. And as long as it keeps it in that setting, as long as the caster isn't interfered with, then the story still goes on. Because I'm also thinking, as long as she's chanting that, they're still in the setting of the London Bridge story. So regardless, Thames is still gonna always be in the vicinity to crush anything below it, right? At least that's what I think it is, because otherwise, how is it that even if you ran for so long, you'd still be stuck? Because it doesn't feel like it's a reality marble necessarily that they were in at the time, because they definitely would have felt a disturbance or a shift in the atmosphere, but that doesn't seem to be the case. So again, I think it's just more like her magic personified in real, or not personified, but becoming the reality in that moment. And not so much just like in that space. So as long as it's still on the story, then the story will still continue until they close the book, or in this case, the narrator doesn't narrate anymore. At least that's what I'm thinking anyway. But so that was actually a pretty interesting interpretation of a mage fight. I liked it. Okay, now for volume 4. Wow, okay. I thought this would take me way longer. That's why I was like, damn, this is probably gonna be like a 2-hour stream. No, it's not. Okay, well, at least I can kind of do like a part 2 or the next part as well, because honestly I did want to do a decent amount since it's been a while since I streamed. So let's see, volume 4. But again, that doesn't seem to have been the thing that Sojiro was talking about, though. Which again, I'm kind of surprised. I thought this would have been the case, but seems not. But I guess this is just showing us like this is the magical element that exists in Misaki overall, right? It's like it wouldn't be too surprising that he saw something akin to that level of a supernatural, but that's not what it was. Which again makes sense because it probably would be a bit too early because we don't even know this person's identity or even if they are the same person. Let's rewind to a moment in the recent past. The scene took place on a Saturday morning in early December. With third period over just before lunch, the only activity that remained before the scholastic day ended was homeroom. Two of Class C students, Sojiro Suzuki and Osuke Konomi, were standing outside the balcony overlooking the schoolyard. They were stuck waiting for their homeroom teacher, Mr. Kazuki Yamashiro, and could not leave until he arrived. The rest of their classmates were chatting idly in the classroom. Class A's Tobimaru Tsukichi was killing time alongside him. The listless trio discussed their weekend plans as they leaned on the veranda's railing.
木の実はベアでアルバイトか？
ばっか、誰が日曜まで働くかったよな。明日はほら B 組の子たちと遊びに行く予定だったんだけどな。なんかうちから出られねえ。
ん？それはつまりまた振られたのか？
うわ、直撃！言いづらいことをまっすぐ言うよね、しずきくんってば。
そりゃ毎日てめえのバカ面見てればひよこだって振られるって言葉を覚えるだろうよ。自滅するのは勝手だけどな。くれぐれもその字に変な遊び教えんなよ。
はあ？そりゃ殿下の方じゃねえの。気ぃつけろよ、しずき。築地はマジで腹黒いからよ。こいつの頭の中はほら、あれゴミ捨て場の張り紙？あんな感じだから、くっきり使えるもんと使えないもん分けてんだよ。
ああ、それは知ってる。ところで唐突に思ったんだが、飛び丸の中じゃ木の実はどういう扱いなんだ？
そうだな。粗大ゴミ回収は金でももらわねえと割り合わなくなるんじゃねえか。国が無料で回収するのはそろそろおしまいってとこ。
はあ？何言ってんのお前。使い古しのタンスとか高く売れるじゃん。俺みたいな開封即使用みたいな男がこれからのトレンドなわけでしょ。ほらコンビニで売ってる使い捨てカメラとか大人気だし、ようやく流行が俺の消費文明に追いついたと。
じゃあ木の実はバイトと。飛び丸は？
来るからね、ちゃんと俺の時代。
俺はちょい仕様だ。親父の客が来てるんで接待しなきゃならん。街の案内をしてくれとさ。
聞けよ、人の話聞けよ。あのよ、俺は妹の相手してやるだけなんだよ。隣のクソ中華飯店の手伝いなんかしねえよ。
その字は明日もバイトか？
いや、それが一日空いてる。今日はこれから遊園地でアルバイトだけど。
それって魔のきついランド？タフだね、しずき。あそこのバイトは柔道部の連中でも値を上げるって話じゃんか。
なんとまさか猫黒の荷物運びより辛い？
いや、そこまではよく。しかし山城の野郎おっせえな。見ろ、隣の B 組すらお帰りになられてるぞ。
だな、仕方ねえ。面倒だが呼んでくるか。その字を遅刻させるわけにはいかねえし。
And as if by design, the moment Tomura Sakichi stood up warily from the balcony railing, the school's PA system chime rang.
2年 C 組の静木宗十郎くん、山城先生がお呼びです。至急職員室まで来てください。繰り返します。2年 C 組の
面白いことねえな。誰か校庭にミステリーサークルとか作ってくんねえかな。
他人の妄想力に期待すんなよ。刺激が欲しいならてめえでイベントを起こせ。ほら、クラス分け発表の時よろしく。青崎に突っかかればすぐだぜ。
蘇るトラウマやだよ。会長の大立ち回りは面白いのを通り越して恐ろしいよ。善良な一男子生徒としちゃ美少女が転校してくるだけでいいんだよ。まあ普通の子じゃつまんないからハリウッドのプロデューサーとかイギリスの歌姫とか。
どんなくくりだそりゃ。そこは火星のお姫様あたりにしとけよ。
それと2年 C 組の皆さんへ山城先生から伝言です。山城先生は訳あってホームルームを欠席しますので、各自勝手に下校しちゃってくださいね。それではでは。以上、放送室からお知らせしました。
どうよこれ。山城新車買ってからフリーダムすぎね。このままではあの真新しいセルビアに俺のギザ銃がうなりかねん。
鍵穴にガム程度にしとけ。教師の発給はマジ同情に値するからな。
納得いきません。生徒のアルバイトは認められています。学校公認の職場であるなら社会経験の一環として推奨すると校則にもありますが。
そうなんだけどね。彼の場合やりすぎなのが問題なわけで、仮にもし認可していない労働基準法に反してそうなところで働いてたら困るでしょ。うちも彼も。
The volatile tension between the ruthless student council president and the easygoing modern language teacher permeated the room. Praying to be spared from the impending confrontation, the other teachers hurriedly relocated to their meeting room. At the time Mr. Yamashiro noticed this, the only other person in the room was the student council president Aoko Aosaki.
逃げたか。ひどいなみんな。怖いのは僕に押し付けてばっかりだもんな。
話の続きです、先生。仮に彼が指定以外のアルバイトをしているとしたら、それは彼の要求に学校側が応えていないからではありませんか？下宿先の家賃を奨学金で賄えとは言いませんが、時間の許す限り働きたいという要望は考慮すべきです。
Yeah, because I was gonna say, it's like, you know what his living conditions are. You know he's living by himself. Certainly there can be some leeway. Like, I'm not saying people should be automatically allowed to work, but at least there should be some kind of compromise down the line, because it really does feel like these teachers don't really give a damn about him too much. Because it's like, dude, like, why aren't you the ones looking after him? You're the adults. You are more experienced. Love the kid. I know they're not gonna pay you overtime for it, but come on. You keep saying you're supposed to be role models for the kids, but you're not doing a good job at it now, are you? This is the thing, it's like, can you blame him? He has to pay a whole school tuition, and his living expenses, and food, and entertainment and whatever, all on his own. He don't got parents. He's not living with anybody. He has to always commute to school on his own. Like, what the fuck you mean?
指定外のアルバイトを疑うのなら、まず働き先は1生徒につき1件だけ という規則を改めてください。
Yep, there we go. After hearing her out and realizing there was no way she would back down, Mr. Yamashiro hung his head. This was supposed to be easy. The plan was to call in the student rumored to be working multiple jobs, confirm whether the rumor is true, and if so, give him a warning and some guidance. Head to lunch with the knowledge that all was right with the world. Student Council President, who was coincidentally in the faculty room at the time, had heard the entire issue and decided to call out this injustice. As far as Mr. Yamashiro was concerned, she was in the right, and he was well aware of the aforementioned student situation. Personally, he would have liked to help, but among the faculty, he was just a new kid on the block. He wanted to stay on the vice principal's good side, and at the very least not lose his job as badly paid as it was. Ah, okay. I see. So that's what's going on. Because I was like, dude, you're the one who introduced us. You should know about it, but yeah.
こればかりはね。副教頭先生直々の注意なんで僕も助けてあげられないんだよ。
それでしたら落としどころがあればいいんですね。
ん？青崎くん、それは。
はい、愛田協会のボランティア参加の申告書です。今月も希望者ゼロですね。敬虔なクリスチャンである副教頭先生はさぞお気を悪くしているかと。我が校の生徒には新人が足りんと今朝も嘆かれていたとか。
Ah, okay, I see. She's good. That's why she's the prez. Yeah, make him do the volunteer work as like in exchange for this little situation, and he gets to show that he's the one diamond in the rough and out of this entire fucking school. Not to mention, it would get him a bit more in good with the vice principal knowing, great, you were able to turn someone around to being a good-natured civilian.
そうだけど、どうして君が今朝の職員会議の内容を知っているか聞きたいよ、本当。
Yamashiro scratched his head, but his eyes were smiling gleefully. He'd figured out the student council president's objective.
魚心あれば水心ありですか。教会への奉仕活動はボランティアだけど、きちんと謝礼が出る。あれも形の上では学校側が推奨する社会見学だからね。副教頭先生は参加者が出たことに喜び、加えて
その参加希望者がすでに他のアルバイトについていた場合、学校側の認可が2つになっちゃいますね。前例にしてはいい落としどころだと思いますが。
Oh, so it connects to all of it. Really? Oh, right. I guess I see it because it's like you are kind of also taking away time from his other jobs to help himself for that reason as well. It's like, can you fault the poor guy when he's doing so much? Fair point. He raised his hands in surrender. There are few students able to both raise a complaint and propose a proper solution. Perhaps it was her big sisterly disposition that made the girl so simultaneously feared yet trusted.
よし、その方向で攻めてみよう。うまくいくよう祈ってくれよ。
他力本願は嫌いです。悪巧みに乗ってくれるのならきちんと活躍してください、山城先生。
ああ、待った待った。君も残るんだ。今からしずきくんを呼ぶからちゃんと面倒見てもらわないと。
は
Dude, you really want to poke the bear again? I thought you learned last time, dude. The girl's cool eyes narrowed. Unable to process what she had just heard, her expression turned to a scowl.
いや、参加希望者は一人より二人の方がいいだろ。
Huh? I mean, yeah, I guess it would be weird if he's the only volunteer, but you do realize what's gonna happen to you if you do this to her, right? She's gonna kill you. She'll probably bury you out back in the schoolyard later.
青崎くんがフォローしてくれるなら僕も安心だしね。
ちょっと先生。
ああ、放送室2年 C 組のしずき宗十郎くん、至急職員室に来てください。で、放送お願いします。
だから先生。
いやー、これで万全だ。まさか頭痛の種が同時に消え去るなんて、今日はついてる。ああ、けど青崎くん、ずいぶん親身になってくれるんだね。何？もしかしてああいうのがタイプ？あ、放送士さん、ついでに生徒会長が心からお待ちしていますと付け足して。
Oh no, he's definitely getting stern object. Without question.
山城
Yeah, I mean, it was gonna happen. The next day, a pleasant Sunday. Sojo was awake 2 hours before the time he was supposed to meet her. After getting up, he decided to go on a leisurely jog to clear his mind. But lost among his own thoughts, his 30-minute jog turned to almost an hour. Upon realizing, he rushed home. After thoroughly racking his brain over what to wear for the occasion, he decided upon wearing his school uniform.
午前10時三崎中央公園の東入り口で待ち合わせ
Yeah. Yesterday in the faculty room, when Aoko Aozaki had shared the time and place with him that day, she said it was such pain in her face. Maybe she was finding a headache at the time. Oh, I guess his interpretation.
青崎の風邪は治っているのだろうか。
Right, still doesn't know how to read the room yet. Fair. Sojiro muttered, his words of concern misguided as they were. In any case, he waited for about 5 minutes. At precisely 10 o'clock, the student council president appeared.
おはよういつものことだけど時間だけはぴったりよねあなたひどい顔ねもしかして気分悪いの
いや、体調はいいと思う。だがしかし、青崎は制服だった。
ええ学校の行事だもの当然でしょ
Oh, right. Yeah, yeah, now that I think about it, I think I remember they kind of do that too. Well, at least in anime anyway. That's like, it's supposed to be representation that's like, yes, you're doing this as a volunteer, as a representative of the school. Right. Because it's kind of different from like when you do it outside. Because I remember I used to do volunteer work, but I didn't. But I mean, public schools here in America don't really have school uniforms, so it's like you just wear whatever. But I guess in their case, yeah, they would have to. Okay, maybe not have to, but it makes more sense to. Everywhere despondency fell about Sojourner show. Oh, right, yeah, because he didn't know what was the proper response. Not like he could really look online. Angsting over his outfit for the previous 2 hours had been rendered meaningless just like that. Duo planned their school uniforms on a day off marked by the train station. In the beginning, Aoko had made efforts to make Sojiro a thorough lay of the land. But today, she only shared the bare minimum explanations. This was partly because, surprisingly, Sojiro had become well accustomed to the town. Its restaurants were good, with shortcuts to use in a rush, and while a nearby bicycle shop was better than the department store by the station you wanted to buy a bicycle. Things the local would know. Well, I mean, duh! You get a... For a department store, though, just one that they have in mass. It doesn't necessarily mean like the newest one or the most optimal one, and if you ask for a lot of questions, they'll just give you the standard answers, whereas like in a bike shop, they're specialists. Now give me a sec, I'll be right back. Go get myself a snack. Alright, sorry about that. I'm back. And yes, I also realized while I was getting snacks, oh yeah, I'm doing a visual novel. I kind of had to read some of this, but at the same time, there are breaks where it's like I can have a snack while they're talking. So, yeah. But the other reason was that Don and Akko had the two of them conversing might look like the passers-by. Oh
話
yeah,
は変わ
I
るけ
didn't
ど
even think of that.
具体的にどんな労働内容なのかそろそろ聞いていいかな。
From here on, volunteering at the church meant the school would tolerate multiple jobs. Sojiro quickly agreed to the tempting offer, not unlike a bobblehead. But as was typical for him, he had failed to consider the content of the proposal.
まあそんなことだろうと覚悟はしてたけど。あなた間教会は初めて？
教会なら2回目だ。珍しい建物なんで近寄ったら中の人がタダでお菓子をくれたんだけど。
He pondered with all sincerity how exactly a church worked. His contemplative posture made him appear the part of a philosopher. After all his thinking, he concluded, I guess they start taking your money on your second visit. Wow. Damn, that's a crazy thing to say. Such was the extent of Sojour's concerns.
普通そういうことは子供にしかしないんだけどね、あの教会は。で、どんな人に会ったの？神父？それともシスター？
それは綺麗な女の人だった。
じゃあユイカさんの方ね。今日会ったらお礼をって必要ないか。あんたのことだからそのあたりはきちっとしてるだろうし。ん？仕事の話なら簡単よ。学校でやってることと変わらないから。あの教会規模の割に人数が少ないのよ。
Akko picked up her pace as they headed for the church. Somehow, she seemed like a general invading enemy territory. Sojiro furrowed his brows in discomfort. Oh, and you're also wondering why I'm taking breaks, like in between like this, just scrolling. I do it because basically I don't want to have to read a sentence, then pause, then read a sentence, then pause. At least I can get a good number of this text like in a row, and then it's like even you can't see the past text, I can at least still read it. Outer Church had a long history. Far from the station, it was a white painted sanctuary nestled between the business and residential districts. As far as Algo could remember, the church as she knew it now was the result of remodeling done 8 years prior. It was practically a cathedral for a town of this size. Incidentally located next to it was Misaki City General Hospital. From Algo's perspective, it seemed awfully suspicious for the church to take a residence next to the location of the city where the most lives were lost, though the only two who were aware of this opinion were her roommate, Atsukuroji, and the priest. Yeah, actually, now that I think about it, yeah, that would be weird, wouldn't it? Damn, like, that's kind of foreboding, isn't it?
青崎はこの教会に縁があるのか？
私はこれっぽっちも。もう過去に戻って改ざんしたいぐらいみじんもないけど。うちの父と祖父は長い付き合い。
Damn. Okay. I mean, I'm an atheist, but it's nothing nearly as like striking as that of a reason.
ここの手伝いなんて、忌々しいことに小学生の頃は毎日してたもんだけど。
Ah, okay. Fair. You know what? Considering how much she likes her time off, I get it. The more Akko spoke, the more twisted her expression became. The columnist made her want to grab it by the proverbial collar, give it a proverbial one-armed judo backthrow, smash its proverbial head into the proverbial ground, and kick the proverbial living daylights out of its defenseless proverbial torso. Oh my god. I love this girl. She's just so awesome. Such was her so-called trauma, that if it were anthropomorphized, It would take more than a 5-round beating to satisfy her thirst for vengeance.
Oh.
Oh boy. It was in this moment, as he became aware of Aoko's mood, that Sojiro began to fear for his safety. Perhaps attracted by the noisy murder of crows outside the church, a woman in a nun's habit emerged from the front entrance.
失礼ですが、どちらのお客様でしょう。当教会は暴力団関係の方はご遠慮いただいておりますので、日を改める、あるいは生き方を悔い改めた後、
Criminals.
社会的な罪。青崎青子です。シスターユイカ。まあ、青子さんでしたか。驚きました。昼間のうちにあなたが来るのは久しぶりです。そうですね。いつもは夜に呼ばれて神父様とだけお話をしていますから、ユイカさんとは。
Is that why she called her a criminal? Because like she turned her back.
まあ意外ですね。1年近くまともにお話をしていません。ま、この先だって一度もないでしょうけど。ええ、あなたも随分と立派になられたようでがっかりです。何より今の気配は清らかな少女とは思えないほど悪辣でした。
On the surface, the two exchanged congenial greetings. Unable to read between the lines, also Joe could see where two good friends. I love how he looks so innocent. He looks like just a puppy dog and admiring the situation of something new. And yet, this is something completely wrong with it.
今月のボランティアは私とそこの彼です。親愛なる間協会のためですから、10時から3時まで1分の狂いもなくきっかり働かせていただきますわ。
Damn! She even had to, like, enunciate specifically how long they'll be working.
まあ、世も末ですが歓迎しますね。神の家は万人に等しく開くもの。この際、あなたの内面は見なかったことにしておきましょう。
The nun flashed a smile that was equal parts elegant and cruel. Keeping up appearances aside, she seemed overjoyed to have able hands to put to work. The sister introduced herself as Yurika Stusei, I guess? I think Sojiro, who had volunteered of his own volition. Sojiro noticed that her eyes were always shut, but not wanting to be rude, especially for the outcome, signed to pride. Good boy. Okay, you're at least learning something. I'm proud of you.
しずきさんとおっしゃるのですね。声のイメージ通り、落ち着いたお名前です。
はあ、それはどうも。
The sister let slip a frown at Sojiro's ambivalent response to her compliment.
失礼。名字で呼ばれるのはお嫌いのようですね。宗十郎さんでよろしいですか？
え？いや、どっちでもいいですけど。
ではそのように。ほんと、難儀なことですね。
Though the sister's tone was gentle, her words seemed somewhat indifferent. She lacked sight, but she guided the two with certainty in her step.
それで、奉仕の内容ですが。分かってます。クリスマス前だし、面倒な掃除を済ませておきたいんでしょ？問題ありません。そういうの得意ですから。では、青子さんはかまどの方で聖兵の作り置きを、しずきさんは外に、私どもでは手の届かない箇所の清掃をお願いします。ちょっと待って、台所にリツカのやついないでしょうね。こんなところであんなのに会うなんてごめんだから。リツカは留守です。ですので、どうぞ気兼ねなく。
With a dismissive wave, Alko headed toward the door in the back of the worship hall. As she had indicated, she was quite accustomed to this church.
しずきさんはこちらに。 まずは物置から清掃道具を運んでいただきます。
窓を全部拭けばいいんですね。
水拭きと空拭き、その後にコートスプレーもお願いします。はしごの高さは足りますか？
あれ、ちょっと足りないっぽいですね。
では届く範囲で結構ですので、よろしくお願いします。
After the brief exchange, his sister returned to the church. Sojourner began to wonder if it was out of distrust in him that she was being so curt. Yeah, because I was gonna say it's like she seemed to change her tone pretty quickly, but I guess maybe she had the feeling that it's like this wasn't really the volunteer in the sense that it's like, oh, it's someone who really wants a volunteer. More so, it's just like someone who's put in the situation and then it's just gonna give at least a decent effort. He understood that it was too soon to glean for an answer from their first meeting, but then again, such answers always eluded Sojiro. Left alone but no less encouraged, Sojiro began cleaning the windows. Day's weather was a disappointment once again. It had not gone so far as to rain, but it was too overcast to enjoy the sun. Leaning against the tall ladder and beginning with a window about 5 yards from the ground, quietly cleaned. Sojiro was never the kind of person to mind physical labor. In fact, if there had been a blue sky, this might have been a perfect day off for him. By the time he finished his third or fourth window, he felt very relaxed and began to whistle. Though 50 feet was an intimidating height, it provided a wonderful view at the same time. Turning toward the town gave Sojiro a clear view of the tree-topped hill that had previously caught his eye.
やっぱり林の中に家があるような。
The hill in the woods just outside of town. From here, the forest overlooking the sleepless city looked like a foreign castle.
あれ？なになに泥棒さん？
Damn, everyone thinking a criminal is just gonna show. What? Do they like on average have a criminal come by every day? What is this? Well, just then, lost in his thoughts while wiping windows, Sojiro was pulled out from his trance by someone pacing below him. Looked down and saw a girl, her unkept clothes otherwise contrasting with her kind visage.
でもちょっと怪盗には似合わないのんびり屋さん風に。どっちかっていうとあれかしら。暖炉から現れては微妙にいらないおもちゃを押し付けるセイントみたいな。
Are you the Ritsuka person they were talking about?
うわぁ、私あのヒゲ苦手なのよね。だってどう見ても不法侵入者じゃないあの人。
Is she really trying to give like a very weird specification of Santa? She looked to be in her late 20s. Despite the cold, she was not wearing a coat, had no purse either, which was rather strange as a woman and a purse were never far apart. Not that Sojiro knew this truth quite yet. Based on the fact that none of this seemed to apply to her, one could have easily surmised that she herself was a little loosey-goosey. A few cards short of her full deck, one might also say.
あ、私ピンときたわ。君、ミサコのバイトの子？偉いわ。今時の高校生は業者さん顔負けなのね。よーし、私も手伝っちゃおうかな。はしごはまだある？他の雑巾は？どうせだからホースで水をかけるのはどうかしら。こうバーッとケルヒョーとか叫びながら。罰当たりだけど、それなら少しぐらいは楽しくなりそうじゃない？
The girl let out a hearty laugh. Her smile glowed like a cactus that had sprouted legs and began to run about. Inasmuch as a running cactus could only cause trouble. Sojiro anticipated, the girl began to clean without waiting for his approval.
いえ、教会の前を通ったら
人影っぽいのが窓にへばりついてるのが見えちゃったの。昼間っから泥棒とか豪快だなーってちょっと興味惹かれちゃって。そしたら可愛い子が真面目に労働してたわけ。窓拭きの達人みたいにビッとかっこよくそんなの見せられたら手伝いたくなるのが人情じゃない？
Wiping the window next to Sojiro, the girl continued to chatter cheerfully. Although this was all kinds of suspicious, Sojiro politely followed her lead, nodding and agreeing as she spoke. Perhaps it was an instinctive camaraderie. He says this girl was just like him, always getting the short end of the stick when it came to menial work.
あなたは教会の人なんですか？
私？いえ、ただの通りすがりよ。それよりあなたってのは他人行儀ね。君とは商店街で何度も会ってるのに。
いや、会ってませんよ。
会ってます。君魚達さんでバイトしてる子でしょ。今週だけでも何度か行ってるもん。私はそうね、花沢って言うんだけど、君の名前は？
What's with that pause? It's your name, isn't it? But was she trying to make believe a name to give to him or something, or what? Hanazawa took a quick glance at the flower bed below in the middle of her introduction and gave a friendly laugh. Sojiro's self-introduction, however, was his usual brand of awkward.
宗十郎さん。いい名前ね。古風な感じで。名前に数字が入ってるとなんか日本人って感じがしない？ここの神父さんとかシスターの名前知ってる？エイリとかユイカとかなんか外国風なんだけど。
エイリさんはともかく、ユイカさんは綺麗な黒髪の女の人でしたよ。
あら、神父さんにはまだ会っていないのね。相田教会の美形神父と美人姉妹って言ったら有名なんだけど。あ、そうか。さては君、最近引っ越してきたんでしょう。しかも一人暮らしと見たわ。
そうですけど、花沢さんすごいですね。さっきからあまりにも的確な当てずっぽうです。
いえいえ、推理と言ってくれたまえ。君ぐらいの子がアルバイトに精を出すほどこの町の娯楽は魅力的じゃないもの。遊ぶお金ならバイト一件で賄えちゃうわ。君は物欲のあるタイプじゃなさそうだし。となるとこれはもう生活費のためと考えるのが健全でしょ。まあ学生さんが生活費も学費も自分だけで賄うなんてのは健全じゃないんだけど。
いや、そうでもないですよ。働かざる者食うべからずです。
そっか。宗十郎さんは若いのに立派ね。私も学生の頃はバイト三昧だったから少しは君の大変さもわかるわよ。
I mean, now that I think about her deduction, yeah, I guess at the time it makes sense, right? Because again, this is the very late 1900s, correct? So yeah, I guess in that case, there wouldn't really be any other reason for a kid to be working part-time because again, there wouldn't have been that many people to like own cars and stuff. Because I don't know when the rule was like lifted or changed or that they actually did, but then again, also, it's not like they really have like parking spaces at those schools at the time, right? Because that would take up a lot of space. Unlike here in America, where it's like a lot of students just park their cars in the school parking lot. Considering they also have those like parking lots for like when they have like theater plays or band performances or school sports. So yeah, I guess there wouldn't be any other reason for you to do that, like for car expenses or stuff like that.
なんと、花沢さんも一人暮らしだったんですか？
ええ、親の反対を押し切ってよその国に留学しちゃったの。あっちには友達もいたから下宿先には困らなかったけど、さすがに食費ぐらいは稼がないとね。けどまあ こう見えて肉体労働は苦にならないタイプだし、学院もバイトも楽しい思い出になってるわ。
He nodded agreeably. Dignified or not, he could barely hold back the sense of solidarity that was welling up within him.
これも何かの縁だし、魚達さんではこれからお世話になりそうだし、頼りないだろうけど、相談事があったらぜひ言ってね。精神面で力になるわ。
ありがとうございます。じゃあ早速ですけど、ここは何をするところなんでしょう。
Sojo said here, he pointed at oh, right. Yeah, I mean, to be fair, I guess it would be maybe somewhat a bit offensive to ask the sister the question, and he didn't really get the time to ask Aozaki about it.
えっと
Even Hanazawa was taken aback by his question. Right, because even she doesn't know that far of his circumstances. Like, again, there were times when people live on their own because, like, maybe parents are busy working abroad or they had a family emergency and stuff like that. Like, there could at least be some reasons for that, but yeah, not like she knows about the whole thing about him literally being for the boonies. Unaware of Sojiro's provincial background, combined with her quick-witted nature, Hanazawa seemingly mistook his question for some kind of sophisticated wit.
そうね。心の安全を扱っているというのはどうかしら。いえ、安全というよりは鎧？継ぎはぎのバリケード？とにかく本人はちっとも鍛えられないってことは同じよね。あとはパンとワインも分けてくれるわね。
無料でですか？
もちろん。止めるものは勝手に置いていくって話。
Okay, now she's... Oh, okay, that's what they meant by the wit
あ
part.
とはそっか、これが一番大きいんだけど、収入に税金がかからない。心の安全は扱いが難しいけど、きちんと売り物にできればノーリスクハイリターンよ。
はあ、よくわからないですけど、ピンチの時はここに転がり込めばいいんですね。
それはおすすめしないな。ご利用は月に1回、気休め程度にした方がいいと思う。
そうだ、もう一つあります。ここから見えるあの森、何ですか？
森？あの山の上にある森のこと？
ですけど、あれは山じゃなくて丘と言うべきです。
Yeah, because I was gonna say a mountain's like way higher. As someone raised in the countryside, Sojo's pride would not allow for a mound of dirt to be called a mountain. Wow, okay.
そう？あれはあれで結構登るのに体力使うんだけど。ま。
It was as if a shadow fell over her till now sunny disposition. She was undoubtedly a beautiful woman with very lovely features. As Sojo looked at her in that moment, her smile melted away, so how disturbed she was at his comment. When it comes down to it,
あれは丘です。それとほら、ここから煙突みたいなの見えますけど、あれは何ですか
Sojo was not one to closely watch people's reactions and fuss over his speech.
あれは本物の煙突よ。あの森は全部私有地なんだけど、その中にでっかい洋館が立っているの。でも私有地だから地元の人間も入ったことはないんじゃないかしら。通称久遠寺のお化け屋敷ってね。近所の皆さんは気味悪がってるし、あんまり近寄らない方がいいんじゃない？あんな小さな森なのに遭難したとか野犬が出るとか物騒な話には事欠かないから。
野犬って都会にも野犬？
Oh, are they thinking the pigs maybe, right? I guess you could kind of confuse them for that when, like, they open their mouths and stuff. Yeah, okay, that's probably what it is then.
たくさんいるわよ。この教会の裏手の空き地にだっているし、ここの神父さんは物好きだからパンとかあげちゃって、それでワンちゃんの巡回ルートになっちゃってるんでしょうけど。 とにかく君子危うきに近寄らずよ。あの森には入らないのが町のルールなの。そもそも私有地だし、入ったらおまわりさんを呼ばれちゃって、そのまま交番でお説教タイムなんてあんまり楽しくないでしょ。
He nodded along to her story as he stared at the far-off chimney from his vantage point on the ladder. A teeny tiny part of him was curious about that hill because it reminded him of the woods where he grew up. But after reminding himself that it was none of his business, he returned to window washing. Thanks to Hanazawa lending a hand, they were able to finish the job without a hitch. Between the two of them, they had accomplished a simple but very time-consuming task.
はい、ご苦労様でした。あれだけ砂まみれだった窓が見違えたわね。どう？これから適当なサテンでお茶にしない？宗十郎さんの仕事っぷりに敬意を表して、私がおご。
はい、何か言いました、花沢さん。
いや、ごめんなさい。急用を思い出しちゃった。花沢さんはここで失礼するのでした。チャオ。
By the time Sojo, who had started putting away the ladder, turned around, he was only able to catch a glimpse of the girl's figure dashing toward the tree at lightning speed. It was just before 3 o'clock. More than 3 hours had passed since Hanazawa offered to help. Sojo watched the girl with many strange faces disappear. For someone who seemed to have been on an aimless walk, Hanazawa spent a good deal of time with him. Maybe helping Sojo reminded her of something she needed to do.
しずきくん、そっちにいるの？
Yeah. I feel like I get what's going on. Like, I had the feeling at the start, but I didn't want to say anything. Is that why she also, like, always closes her eyes? It's like, it's her personage here at the church, but it's different from how she is IRL, or off the clock. That's probably what it is, isn't it? It's like, she uses it as an excuse to get a read on the dude. Right? But she doesn't want Aozaki to know. As for why, probably because her persona always treats her like a villain for not coming by, and in doing so it would like break her, and probably Aozaki would make fun of her like probably all the time. Student council president popped their head out from the corner of the church.
あ、声かけてごめん。いいから作業に専念。
Said Sojo putting away the ladder taller than themselves seemed to have provoked an emotional response in Aoko. Then in an instant she rolled up her sleeves and began to approach him.
Oh.
It surprised him more than Aoko's sudden appearance. Ignoring Sojo's bewilderment, Aoko promptly began issuing orders.
はしご、横に倒していいわよ。下の方は私が持つから、あなたは上の方をお願い。
She did all of this so matter-of-factly that Sojo began lowering the ladder before he even had the chance to insist that he could do it by himself. Work finished and the sisters' thank you gifts in hand, the two put the church behind them. Since Aoko apparently had something to do around the station, they decided they would walk together until they got there.
でも、本当にアルバイト慣れしてるのね。
Leave to Orange Tint Sky, Aoko spoke more as though she was expressing her thoughts out loud rather than striking up a conversation.
そうか。青崎から見てそうなら少しは嬉しいな。
Sojo gave her an earnest smile. But then again, he had been beaming ever since he received his pay, so the source of his joy was not so clear.
あのね、あなたは普段が問題ばっかりなんだから、あんまり調子に乗らないように。差し引きゼロっていうか、まだまだマイナスなんだから。
うん。学校のことは言われると悲しくなる。
He hung his head dejectedly. Even if his job had been going well, school was still a bust. Exams were one thing, but even classwork was something he had found himself falling behind in.
青崎は成績悪いやつは嫌いか？
まあ、頭というか巡りの悪い人との話は疲れるでしょうね。でも、あなたはそれ以前だし、そもそも私にはこれっぽっちも関係ないし。でっかいハンデを何とかするのは先生たちの仕事で、 それに応えるのはあなたの役目。アルバイトもいいけど帰ったらきちんと予習やっときなさいよ。
それはもちろん。学校の人たちはみんないい人だ。
そうならいいけど、みんないい人？
Uncle cocked her head to the side, unsure how this exchange had resulted in that response. He decided to interpret it as Sojo was simply expressing his gratitude in his own peculiar way.
ところで参考までに聞くんだけど、あなた他にどんなバイトしてるの？
どこって商店街が多い。魚のお店とか花の店とか。あ、でも昨日は隣町まで遠出したな。遊園地のアルバイト。
Since the only school authorized locations were in the Misaki shopping district, his response was as much as she expected. That is, except for the decidedly unexpected last part.
遊園地ってヤシロギの？
そう。使わなくなった看板とかオブジェとか解体して運び出したんだ。さすがに疲れたな、あれは。
へえ、うん、それは体力勝負でしょうね。
So if they're rather impressed, transporting unused amusement park machinery was not a job that students did willingly in their own free time.
でもいいな。私キッズイランドって一度も行ったことないの。三崎町に住んでるのに。
Uncle looked up in the direction of the neighboring town. From here, you could just barely make out the Ferris wheel. The round steel frame of the wheel, illuminated by the sunset as it was reminiscent of an old gravestone.
そうか。それは金銭的な理由で。
そういうんじゃなくて、単純にあれが開園してから立て込んでて遊びに行く暇がなかっただけよ。お金で解決する問題だったらそれこそ今すぐに行ってるわ。
Uncle showed Sojiro the envelope that contained the pay for the church. There's nothing sinister about her remarkable gesture, but the fact that she didn't jump at the chance to go made Sojiro sad.
それなら今度行けばいいじゃないか。
ありがとう。けどそれは無理な話。あんたのことだから気づいていないと思うけど、あれ潰れてるのよ。廃園になってからもう2年以上は経つんじゃない？
なんと。
It was no wonder there were no customers all the time he was there. Wait, what the fuck? Then what are you doing? Wait, are you... So wait, did he think he was actually working? If it shut down, what have you been doing there, my guy? No, it has to be that it's like, he's the construction crew and they're just taking down the amusement park, right? Because otherwise, how would you work at one that's shut down? Or how would you even be able to? I have so many questions. Exasperated as she was at Sojiro, the student council president seemed to be enjoying herself. At this point, she would be yelling things at Sojiro like, I can't believe you didn't know that. But this evening, this one only evening, she found it charming. They parted ways as Sojiro returned home to his apartment, rested himself in his studies, and before he knew it was time to go to work. The major cultural difference, though certainly not the only point of difference, between the city and country was the use of time. It didn't matter what part of the city he was in, time flowed far too quickly here. Failing to squeeze even a drop of knowledge from his textbooks, he put them away for the day before heading into town. What time does this dude go to sleep? God damn. Feels like he's always working. The night grew deeper as day turned into tomorrow. Sojo reversed his collar to protect his neck from the bitter cold and began to make his way back home. Not a soul to be seen. No dogs scrounging for food, no late night shoppers. Why would there be? A solitary convenience store in the area closed at 11 o'clock. Not like a 7-Eleven. Must have been a little energy he had to take in. An especially deep breath. Man-made landmarks lined the deserted street. Garish blue fluorescent light, brighter than the stars above, illuminated the darkness. An unconscious sense of anxiety stirred within him.
情けない。夜が怖いのは当たり前じゃないか。
A figure crept up his spine as he attempted to mask his weakness with words. Stay out of the dark. Stay away from deserted places. Whether it was for some deeper reason, or perhaps the fact that he looked so helpless, everybody he had met in his life seemed to warn him with those words.
そうは言ってもしょうがないし、大体。
What did that even mean, stay out of the dark? Nowhere in the city was without light. Everywhere from the bustling train station to the remote residential areas was illuminated by the artificial light. At least the main roads. Scary was scary, but this kind of fear was a bit of a different sort than what he'd felt in the mountains. Oh, is that what they mean? Like, don't go near those woods, I guess? Because again, it's like you said, it's like, it's one that's going through urbanization, right? So it's like, there should be a lot more lights here. The most likely source of his fear was the fact that this place was governed by starkly different rules. The way in which the city meted out justice was terribly imbalanced. And to the provincial Sojiro, his lack of familiarity with the laws of the land terrified him far more than the dark. In the mountains, retribution came swiftly to those who broke the rules. Take a game trial, for example. Those who unwittingly trespassed on the animal kingdom's domain would, as a matter of course, be savaged by the native wildlife. Accordingly, in Sojiro's mind, an offender paid the price for one's mistakes immediately. It wasn't a matter of who punished whom. It was simply that the one who broke the rules would meet instant tangible retribution. He felt that in this regard, the laws of the city were far too ambiguous. One could meet their demise without ever knowing whether one was in the right or wrong.
けど、基本的には変わらないんだよな、多分。
To put it simply, retribution was delayed. To take an analogy a step further, back home in his village, no one individual had been given the responsibility of maintaining order. In the city, however, someone was put in charge of punishing lawbreakers on behalf of the kind-hearted citizens who lived there. While crime and punishment in the mountains were synonymous, in the city, the two were separated. An unrelated person brought judgment after the crime had been committed. The two places that must not be entered, cities that must not be seen. Breaking a law had consequences. Someone would come to exact justice for the law that was broken. The result of all this was the safest way to survive the city was not to stick your nose in the affairs of others. When the people who cared about Sojiro told him to stay away, they probably meant if you don't, nobody will be able to help you.
いけない。また近道しそうになった。
No matter how much of a nuisance these obstacles were, one could not just climb over a neighbor's fence even when one's apartment was just the other side. If the people inside happened to be awake and called the police, nobody would lift a hand to help them. With his misguided view of the city, Sojiro once again ended his day in peace. Unable to fall asleep right away, he gazed out his window upon the night sky from the floor of his apartment. The cityscape had caused him to tremble in fear when he first moved here. The convenience of solving almost any problem with the flip of a switch, the novelty of living a wall away from a complete stranger, all disappeared into the night sky when he looked up.
こんな空もあるのか。
With dim stars or a cramped sky, yet there were no starry nights. Could he even survive here? The same misgivings since his first night continued to haunt him. Ah, so this is an extra. Okay. Called it. Okay, let's put this back for now. Would I have to save or... Let me see. I hope it keeps it. Okay, I think that'll be the end of the stream for today. Or at least for now, because they're actually doing lawn work across the street right now. So I wouldn't be able to do a lot more of this for today. But hey, at least we did get 2 hours in the end. We did get 2 hours, so I'm happy about it. And some pretty interesting stuff. Again, we're starting to meet some new characters. We're actually getting a little bit more into the magic stuff. But to see it in an extra chapter, it is interesting. I like how this is kind of going beyond my expectations of what they're trying to do with storytelling. But yeah, we'll see what we can do from here in the future. But it's getting interesting. Wait, what's this extra thing? Am I supposed to do something? Oh, okay. So this is where I can just see the archives. Okay. Let me actually just put it in archive mode just for now. But yeah, it was very interesting to say the least. It gives a bit more, and again, get to just enjoy a bit of extra stuff. But next time when we do this, we'll definitely try to do more story. Hopefully. Like I said, I won't be streaming this on Friday because, like I said, Otakon. I'll be going for 2 of the 3 days, so Friday and Saturday there will be no streams. Like I said, hopefully I'll be able to do another stream tonight. If it is, it'll be Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. And tomorrow I will do Punishing Grey Ravens so that at least I can do some of the floating record there. And then next week we'll start up on Honkai Star Rail on Sunday. But anyway, I hope you guys did enjoy the stream for today. Huge shout out to Ryu for showing up to the stream. Great chat with you, man. And yeah, we'll see what we do going further starting into next week. But anyway, if you guys did enjoy the stream but already found the channel, please make sure to leave a follow. Much appreciated. Check out my YouTube channel. I post a lot of subscribe as well. Join the Discord, you guys not already. Links to all those are on the channel. But this has been Xanto's Voice. I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. I'll see you guys next time. We're out.